Watkins, oh my goodness. Did he catch that? Did he catch that? That's the touchdown catch of the year if that's good.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
My bold prediction for the week is from the Rams-Seahawks game. I'm going to go Todd Gurley has 200 all-purpose yards in this one.
Here's a bold prediction. The Saints are going to beat the Ravens, and Breeze is going to get that record, but the Ravens are still not going to let up a second-half touchdown.
Welcome to 4th and Long, your weekly NFL talk show here on Com Radio. Now, here are your hosts, Jason Marcus and DJ Bauer.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of 4th and Long here on Com Radio. We took a week off for Thanksgiving, but we are back.
Technically, I took 2 weeks off because I was sick.
Technically, DJ took 2 weeks off, so it is glad we are happy to be back with you guys here for another episode of 4th and Long. DJ, how you doing? How was your Thanksgiving break?
It was pretty nice. A little stressful. First part of the week, we didn't have any power in our house, so cold and dark. But
Really?
yeah, we had to spend some time at the gym there because it had Wi-Fi and heat and light, so
Huh.
it was
How long were you
interesting way to start the week.
How long were you there for?
The power was out in our house from Thursday till Tuesday.
Wow. So you
So-
spent the gym the entire time?
Not the entire time, but a lot of the time.
Wow,
Like,
that's
most of Sunday, most of Monday.
Was it comfortable?
Yeah, it was nice.
Okay,
it's a nice
that's
gym.
good. Could be worse.
Slept on the couch there a couple times.
Oh, so it was a real nice gym.
Exercised a couple times, which is not something I do often.
Oh,
so-
wow. See, this is what happens when
Right,
tragedy
this is-
strikes.
exactly.
DJ
Exactly.
responds with exercise.
But Thanksgiving was good.
Okay.
We had power for Thanksgiving, so everything turned out great.
There you go. Thankful for
Yeah.
electricity.
How was your Thanksgiving, Jason?
I thought it was good. Saw some family, hung out for a little bit. Nothing too exciting, nothing too out of the ordinary, but it was good, you know? It's been so hard to get back into the swing of college
Right.
after taking a week
Exactly.
off.
It's incredible how, you get this whole week off and immediately you come back to college.
It's
and
like
it's a punch in the face.
it
like,
really is.
Welcome back, guys.
Yeah, it's such a weird timing.
Here are final papers. Here are final exams.
It's awful, actually.
punch after punch.
But
it,
you know
it
what's
is-
not awful,
It
DJ?
is what it is. What's not awful?
The NFL this
That's
week.
right.
It was pretty good. A lot of fun games, but some big stories that we're going to talk to first. And I think the biggest one that we need to address right now is this whole Reuben Foster situation. So for those of you who don't know, Reuben Foster was a linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers, drafted out of Alabama, I believe, last year. And
Right.
he's had a lot of history of domestic violence issues, drug issues. And he got caught for another one. Another domestic violence issue, but there's a lot of information we don't know.
Right.
So previous to this,
Mm-hmm.
he was charged with some domestic violence issues, but it was later came out that the woman, his girlfriend at the time, accused him falsely, and said that she was trying to ruin his career.
Right.
Which I don't know. Like I said, there's so much we don't know about the situation.
Right.
But nonetheless, it happened again. Same woman makes the claim. So there's some speculation about how accurate this
Mhm.
claim is again. But nonetheless, this is a distraction for the team. Whether it's true or not,
Right.
it's shown that it's just too much for anyone to handle. So he was cut by the 49ers. He was picked up off of waivers by the Washington Redskins, which is a questionable move, if you ask me. Just from a PR standpoint, too. Like, how are you... I don't know. They're choosing his talent over the fact that he potentially beats women.
I mean, there's so much that we can talk about here. From every angle, this is a bad move from the Redskins.
Yeah, I agree.
I understand that he's one of the most talented young linebackers in the league, and he showed that last year again with San Francisco. But at some point, you have to consider, talent over, things like this. I think it was, who said it? Maybe the Cardinals owner. That said if Hannibal Lecter ran a 4.3, we would classify him with an eating disorder.
Right.
Which it's kind of a hilarious quote, but it's also true. I mean, it seems like in the NFL, if you have talent, you can get away with bad things.
Yeah,
And
which is
that's-
unfortunate.
It's a terrible message to get across. I mean, what about all the young viewers out there?
Yeah.
Just say, all right, you can beat women and you could still play on an NFL team.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that people are choosing talent over character is not a good look for anybody involved. But nonetheless, even though he was picked up by the Redskins, Reuben Foster is on the commissioner's exempt list, meaning it doesn't matter that he was picked up by another team, he's not going to play.
Exactly.
So that's good.
And I guess they're trying to save face here with some PR statements.
I think that even the NFL, who have definitely made their fair share of mistakes, realized that this was a bad situation and that they weren't going to make another one.
There was a quote here from Doug Williams, I believe. I wonder if I can find it. But he talked about how they're going to have him go through, therapy and things like that, which I suppose is kind of a face-saving move. But even still, you've got that reputation now. I mean, they have Adrian Peterson on the roster too, and he just came out on the record a couple weeks ago saying that he's still punishes his children in ways that are typically not acceptable.
I think they're two different situations, though.
I agree with that.
I mean, Adrian Peterson's disciplinary methods certainly may rub some people the wrong way, but I personally believe that that's not always the worst case scenario to discipline your children like that. I mean, and I'm sure that's honestly the way he was brought up.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that he came up with on his own. So, but nonetheless, Adrian Peterson isn't the story here. Reuben Foster is. It's a tragic situation all around, but no matter how you slice it, NFL's losing a good talent. But
if there's anything positive to come out of the Redskins picking up, I guess it's because there are other Alabama players on there.
Right.
So he's with friends. He's with people that he knew in college. So maybe if there's anyone that can help him,
you think that was part of it?
Turn it around, it might be the Redskins.
Do you think players on the team were vouching for Foster and saying bring him in?
It's possible. I think it's a possibility. Right now, it's a PR nightmare. We'll see how it plays out. I hate to see people ruin their lives by doing stuff like this. I really want him to get clean.
Yeah.
I mean, we look at Alden Smith. He's the prime example of a guy who absolutely ruined his career by doing drugs and illegal things like that. He was one of the top talents in the NFL, no doubt about it, for the Niners, and he is no longer on a roster because he couldn't be clean.
Nope. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I hope the same doesn't happen to Foster. I hope he gets turned around, but right now I don't like the move.
No. Some other big stories this week we got going on. We are winding down here in the NFL season, and we don't unfortunately have a lot of time left here in the semester. So let's do our playoff bold predictions for this week.
Okay.
So let's look at the current standings in both the AFC and NFC.
Okay.
And then I want to get one team from each conference that you think will slide into the playoff picture by the end of the regular season, and also whose spot they're going to take, essentially.
Right.
So let's start with the AFC first. Currently in the first seed in the AFC, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. Second seed, we have the New England Patriots. Third seed, we have the Baltimore Ravens. The Houston Texans. Fourth seed, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Fifth seed is the Los Angeles Chargers, and the sixth seed, the Baltimore Ravens. So, DJ, start with you. Give me one team from the AFC currently not in the playoff picture that will make it, and whose spot do they take?
All right, well, you got a couple possibilities here, but I think the answer's pretty obvious.
I would agree. I think we're probably going to have the same one, but go for it.
I got to go with the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Luck's playing really, really well right now.
I mean, their schedule down the stretch is not too bad. They have the Jaguars this week. That should be a win. Texans is going to be tough. Both teams are very hot right now. Texans are on an 8-game winning streak. Colts are on a 5-game winning streak. That's going to be one of the games to watch. Cowboys is a home game. I think they can win that. Giants they have at home. I think that's also winnable. And then they go to Tennessee. They played Tennessee earlier this year, right?
Yeah.
So I think that they grab the win there. I mean, realistically looking at it, the Colts could finish 10-6. And
yeah.
Most 10-6 teams make the playoffs. I think that this is a very strong team, just from an offensive perspective. Andrew Luck's been playing some of the best football of his entire career. Marlon Mack, hopefully, that concussion protocol goes all well and he's back to play, because whenever he plays, he's a pretty good running back.
Mm-hmm.
And Luck's got some weapons. He's got T.Y. Hilton. And for once, one of the big problems in Andrew Luck's career is that he had no one protecting him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a good offensive line for the first time in forever. I mean, Quentin Nelson has been, one of the pickups of the draft there. And the defense has made leaps and bounds. I mean, just having the presence of guys on there like Darius Leonard, probably the defensive rookie of the year. this team has improved in ways that I was not predicting. At the beginning of the year, I had the Colts coming in last place again. I thought that it was going to take some more time for them, but they've rebounded very quickly, and I think that there's a very good chance that the Colts end up in the postseason when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think the Colts are the obvious choice here for this, but I'm going to go with a dark horse here. I'm actually going to say if not the Colts, I think the Denver Broncos have the second best chance here.
Literally a horse.
Literally a dark horse here.
There you go.
And I think it solely has to do with just the strength of their schedule going down the stretch. Next week, they're at the Cincinnati Bengals, who are going through absolute turmoil right now.
Yep.
And then after that, their next 3 games are against San Francisco, Cleveland, and Oakland. So very possible that they win. And they got a big win over the Steelers this week. So they've shown that they are able to get a win over top contenders in the conference.
They beat the Chargers a week before.
They beat the Chargers.
That's 2 big wins in a row.
And if they can beat the Chargers again to end the season, that'll be 7 wins in a row.
Right, that'd be 10-6. That's prime.
Heading into the playoffs,
right
10-6, 7 wins in a row. That momentum on their side. It's very possible that the Broncos could make a run. Do I think it's very particularly likely that they do better than the Colts? No, I think the Colts have more talent. But if not the Colts, I think the Broncos are the only choice in the AFC to potentially have a chance still.
I do have a fun fact for you, like I always do.
All right, here we really need a button for this, but here we go. DJ's fun facts. Here we go. Give me it.
Pat Bowles is one of the greatest owners in NFL history, I believe.
Yep.
Since he became the owner of the Broncos in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
the Broncos have never had back-to-back losing seasons.
Interesting.
I thought it was going to happen this year, but things have turned around. Maybe it won't.
Maybe you won't. So you have the Colts getting into the spot. Now, do you have them taking a wild card spot, or are they going to upset the Texans and win that division?
I don't see the Texans losing this division right now. They are just about playing as good a football as any team. I know it's a stretch to say that they're playing as good as the Chiefs, the Rams, or the Saints are, but I think that they're very close to approaching that level right there. I mean, 8 wins in a row is difficult to do, especially after an 0-3 start, and literally no other team in NFL history has done it. Deshaun Watson has been absolutely a monster, no doubt about it. Guys like Lamar Miller are stepping up. I wasn't expecting that.
200 yards.
Yeah. 97-yard run, only player in NFL history to have 2 97-yard touchdown runs. So, this offense is roaring. Of course, guys on the defense like Jadeveon Clowney and guys like J.J. Watt. It's what you expect on the defense. Just the fact that both sides of the ball have been playing so well, I do not see the Texans giving up this division.
Okay, so if they're not the division, then do they get the 5th or the 6th seed in this?
I think that they're going to grab the 6th seed.
Okay.
Right now, the playoffs, it's going to be the same, I think. I think Chiefs are going to take 1, Patriots 2, Texans 3, and Steelers 4. I think that's going to stay the same. And I think the Chargers, they will hang around at 5. It depends on how they do when they play the Chiefs. Because they lost a game earlier, but they still have another game against the Chiefs going on later in the season, so that's going to decide a lot of things for sure. But I like them staying at 5, and then the Colts jump into 6, and they're going to take the Ravens spot.
Okay.
Now, the thing with the Ravens here, they've been kind of weird because they started off the season really well, and then they fell on a big slide, and now they're slowly getting back up again. I mean, they put Lamar Jackson in. He's, proved effective as both a passer and a rusher. And who the heck would have expected Gus Edwards to be as good as he's been?
Yeah.
So, I understand that their games, they play the Raiders. They're not that great. But the defense has gotten back to form, it seems like. So it's going to be a tight finish here. I do think that all possibilities considered, it's going to be between Ravens, Colts, and Broncos for that 6th spot. And we're just going to have to see how it plays out.
I agree here. I think if the Broncos miraculously find a way to go on a winning streak here to end the season and find a way into the playoffs, I think the only viable option is that 6th spot with the Ravens falling out there. They're not going to end up with a better record than the Chiefs or the Chargers for that matter.
Right.
So if they want to get in, their only really hope, I feel like, is in that 6th wild card spot. But
yeah, right now they're only a game behind.
Yeah, so anything could happen. And if they play the Chargers one more time, so you never know what could happen here, but I like the Chargers more than I like the Broncos, but I think the Broncos' strength of schedule down the stretch is very much in their favor. So anything could happen, but let's move towards the NFC now. In the 1st seed for the NFC, currently we have the New Orleans Saints. 2nd seed, we have the Los Angeles Rams. 3rd seed, we have the Chicago Bears. 4th seed, we have the Dallas Cowboys. 5th seed, we have the Minnesota Vikings, and in the 6th seed, we have the Washington Redskins. DJ, a very competitive NFC. I would think it's actually a lot more room for variability than the AFC would. So if you had to pick a team that's not currently one of those 6 in the NFC to get it in there, who are you taking?
Now, the NFC is interesting to me because I think that the AFC is relatively stagnant. I think we're going to see 5 of the teams that are in there right now. I'm almost positive are going to get playoff spots. NFC, I don't think anything is guaranteed. Other than maybe the Saints, the Rams, and perhaps the Bears now, I think those other 3 spots are very much up for grabs. So if I had to pick only one team to go and take a playoff spot, I guess I'd have to pick the Seahawks. They have looked pretty impressive lately. They just got 2 big wins in a row, home win over the Packers, another team on the bubble here, and then now they have a head-to-head over the Panthers, who are now tied with them at 6-5. If any team jumps in here and finishes strong, I think it's the Seahawks. Look at their remaining schedule. They play the 49ers twice. They play the Cardinals. They got 2 tough games against the Chiefs and the Vikings, but if they play well enough, I think either of those games could go either way. I think there's a very real possibility here that the Seahawks finish 9-7, 10-6, and snag a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick too. So do you have them? Certainly, I'm not going to upset the Rams for the NFC West. So you have them getting a wild card spot.
Yes, of course.
Would 5th or 6th? Do you think the Vikings are going to be able to continue their stretch and hold on to that 5th seed?
I do. I think that the Vikings are going to end up getting a playoff spot as a wild card. I like the Bears to win that division, and then the Vikings to grab a wild card. They got a kind of tough schedule because they play the Bears again. They got the Patriots this week, and we know that's not going to be easy. And they play the Seahawks, of course. I think that's going to have major playoff implications. But I think they'll get wins over the Dolphins and the Lions, and then maybe win 1 or 2 of those other games. If that happens, we're looking at maybe like a 9-6-1 Vikings team, and I think that might be good enough to grab a playoff spot.
I'm actually going to go with the homer pick here.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Eagles.
All right. Seattle is almost a homer pick for me. They're my second team. So
yeah, and listen, I am not going to sit here and tell you that this season for the Eagles has been pretty. It's been quite obviously the opposite. I'm not going to sit here and say that they have a shot to win the Super Bowl. I don't personally think that. I think they're just far too hurt and far too not. They're just not playing well. Mm-hmm. However, due to the circumstances of the NFC East being the NFC East.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it is every year.
Eagles swept the Giants this year. They're done. They're one of the worst teams in football.
Yeah.
They lost to the Cowboys once, which I think is their biggest threat. They still play the Cowboys one more time, and they play the Redskins twice, and with the Redskins now with a backup quarterback in Colt McCoy. Obviously, the Eagles got a very huge and necessary win against New York. Mm-hmm. They now play the Redskins and the Cowboys in back-to-back weeks. They'll play the Redskins at home. If the Eagles can find a way to beat the Redskins and the Cowboys, it's going to be really tough. But as crazy as the season has been for the Eagles, I don't think they're out of it yet. And I don't think it's completely implausible to say that the Eagles could win, not necessarily win out, but win all their divisional games and win the division and find themselves in that 4th seed in the NFL playoffs. Crazier things that have happened, DJ.
I don't think it's implausible, but they do have a tough schedule. If they are going to get in the playoffs, they would probably need to be 3-0 in those divisional games.
I agree.
Because their other 2 games are at the Rams and against the Texans.
Yeah.
And those could very easily be 2 losses.
It's all going to come down to that second game against Dallas, I think.
I agree. I think that if the Eagles do want to get in the playoffs, it's possible. But
they have to beat Dallas.
I think they absolutely have to beat Dallas, no doubt about it. And I think they probably definitely one of the Redskins games, probably both of the Redskins games too.
I agree. I think if they don't sweep their last 3 divisional games, I think the Cowboys win that division. But
I think so as well.
History has shown us that the Eagles actually play better against Dallas while they're in Dallas.
That's interesting.
Nothing is guaranteed, but that's going to lead us into our first break. When we come back, we're going to take a look back at all the results from this past week, and then after that, we will give our bold predictions and our official predictions for Week 13 in the NFL. So you are listening to 4th and Long on Com Radio, and we will be right back.
You're listening to 4th and Long with Jason Marcus and DJ Bauer here on Com Radio.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to 4th and Long on Com Radio. I'm your host, Jason Marcus, alongside me, DJ Bauer. Week 12 of the NFL is officially in the books, and now we look forward to Week 13. But before we can, let's talk about some of the biggest games from this past week in the NFL. It was Thanksgiving weekend this past week, DJ. Yeah. So we had 3 games on Thursday night.
Hey, we had the best way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Love football. Just love having it on all day, every day.
When you're making dinner, go ahead, watch the first game.
Yeah.
then eat dinner, and then go ahead and watch a second game in a coma
yeah.
after eating all the stuffing and turkey and everything. And then by the time you wake up, it'll be over and you can watch the third game.
It's great. You can watch football before dinner, during dinner, and after dinner.
It's perfect.
It is perfect. I watched.
Well done, NFL. You know how to do it.
It's like they planned it. I love it. So the first game that happened last week, Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. Bears won this one 23-16. Thought it was a statement win by Chicago here.
For sure.
What did you see from this game that stood out to you?
Well, something we've been talking about pretty much all year is that we've said that the NFC North is a wide-open division. With this win, I don't think it is anymore.
No?
I think that the Bears have clearly labeled themselves as the front runner here, especially with Green Bay losing, Minnesota losing to Chicago last week. I think with both of those things happening, the Bears are almost guaranteed to run away with this division here. They've got a couple games down the stretch here that of course, they'll have to win. I know that they do play the Vikings again. They play the Packers again. They got a tough game against the Rams. But I really like the direction this team is going. I think that this is probably the best defense in the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a look at guys, Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Eddie Jackson, all what those guys have been doing. I liked the Lions at one point, and now they've kind of fallen off a cliff here. I mean, at the beginning of the season, they looked all right. I thought that they were going to contend, and now they look kind of pathetic recently. I mean, their only win in the past month is a 1-point win against Carolina. So basically what I'm seeing here is that the NFC North is pretty close to shutting the door on who's going to win it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely between them and Minnesota at this point. I think Green Bay, with this loss to Minnesota on Sunday night, really puts a damper on any possibility that they have to get into the playoffs. But surely stranger things have happened here. But yeah, Chicago definitely looks like the better team and the best team in the NFC North as well. So good win by them.
Hey, good for Chase Daniel. How about that?
That's true.
The guy who is known for sitting on the bench and getting checks.
Best job in football.
All he's done in his career, goes out and has a great game.
Yeah, and I think he earned himself another contract, if not with
2 touchdowns, 230 yards, 27 for 37. Way to go, Chase.
He could start for Buffalo.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, Bills. Get on the phone. Chase Daniel's there. He'll take your money.
Or Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to.
Rip Bortles.
Yeah, so speaking of the Jaguars, they were at Buffalo this week. Josh Allen returned. Bills got the win here, 24-21. Afterwards, as you just mentioned, the Jaguars made the decision to not only fire their offensive coordinator, but also bench Blake Bortles in favor of Cody Kessler, the former Brown. Give me your reaction to these two moves.
All right. I think that they're using too many variables here. Either you fire the offensive coordinator and keep Bortles as your starter, or you do the opposite. You sit Bortles and keep your offensive coordinator.
I agree.
Because, I mean, Cody Kessler is your backup quarterback. He's not going to win you games. If Blake Bortles can't win you games, Cody Kessler's not going to win you games.
Now, the other side of this is, do you feel like this could potentially just be the Jaguars saying, we give up, let's see what Kessler's got?
I don't think teams really like to give up in the NFL. I mean, I guess it's a move, but I'm equating this to what Ben McAdoo did last year by sitting Eli Manning and playing Geno Smith.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, Eli got back, though. So do you see Blake
Bortles?
Do you see Blake Bortles starting another game for Jacksonville this season?
Actually, I do. I think that Kessler is Kessler. He's not great or anything.
Right.
Bortles,
it's not like Kessler puts him in any better position to win.
No, absolutely not. He's going to play again some point this season. I think Blake Bortles will. Is he going to play for them next year? Probably not.
No.
I think they're going to move on from him finally. But I think he'll end up being a backup somewhere and go ahead and do the Chase Daniel route. Sit on the bench, earn some money.
Oh, I certainly think Blake Bortles gets another contract somewhere. I think even though he's not great, he's certainly better than look at like all the quarterback issues that have been going on in the NFL between the Niners and the Bills and the Bucs, and somebody could use Giants. Somebody's going to need him. So I think the future isn't totally dark for Blake Bortles, but I certainly don't think it is in Jacksonville.
Hey, if there's anything to learn from Jacksonville's situation right now, don't trash talk if you can't back it up.
At Jalen Ramsey.
I kind of feel bad for him, actually. Because
for Jalen Ramsey? Oh, I don't.
Only a little.
Why?
Only a little bit.
He talks so much crap, and then he cries about it when it happens.
He does. It's true. But he is one of the few players on that defense actually contributing. He had 2 picks against Ben Roethlisberger a couple weeks ago, and they still lost that game. So maybe close your mouth a little bit, Jalen, but
it's called humility.
I do empathize with you a little bit. Only a little, though.
I don't.
Only a little.
You can't talk trash and then get butthurt when he gets thrown back at you. I hate that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bad call on his part to call out Josh Allen, who goes out there and has a pretty good game.
Yeah, good for Josh Allen.
70-yard touchdown, good for him.
Let's move on from this one, DJ.
Yeah, let's go back to Thanksgiving.
You want to go back to Thanksgiving games?
That was a good time.
Okay, sure. What do you want to talk about? Saints Falcons?
Sure, let's go for it.
All right, so I kind of expected this one to be. It was still a 2-touchdown margin. I actually thought it was going to be more than that.
I thought there were going to be more points than this.
I don't necessarily know about more points, but Saints are just the far better team. Falcons are underperforming and injury issues. So, I mean, what do you think, DJ? What was your big reaction to this?
I guess my big reaction to this is is this really it for the Falcons? I thought that they were going to come into this season and have a good year, and now they've lost 3 in a row. I understand part of that is because their defense is so banged up, but they just look pathetic. I wasn't expecting this. I thought they'd at least keep it competitive because they've got such a good offense, but they really haven't. And now they got another tough game against Baltimore this week.
Their season ended to me when they lost to Cleveland.
Okay,
that's
fair.
I think if you can't beat the Browns, and don't get me wrong, I actually think the Browns are not the worst team in the AFC North at the Bengals. But yeah, I think if you can't beat the Browns, then what shot do you have to turn your season around?
It's fair.
So, I don't know.
Big, no surprise there, I suppose, with the Saints being dominant. Drew Brees, love you, man. MVP coming your way. 4 touchdowns, that's a lot of fantasy points. Thanks, dude.
Next game I want to talk about here is a potential playoff match.
Okay.
Seattle Seahawks at the Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
Seahawks get a big road win here, 30-27. I thought the Panthers were going to win this one.
I mean,
they didn't.
Christian McCaffrey just blew up everything.
Yeah, but it wasn't enough for them to win.
Right.
So, where does Carolina go from here?
Well, I don't understand really how they fell into this situation. They were 6-2, and then they got blowout loss to the Steelers, lost to the Lions by 1 point, but doing a risky move there, going for the 2-point conversion and not getting it. And then they lose to the Seahawks here with some questionable calls at the end of the game. Something I really don't understand there was that they were in Seattle territory trying to get the field goal that would seal it. And instead of giving it to McCaffrey, the guy that the Seahawks could not stop all game, Cam tries a run, and then they throw 2 incompletions. And then Gano has to kick a long field goal, and he misses it. I mean, just really questionable play calling there on that drive. That's a game that the Panthers should have won. And then they let the Seahawks take it away from them at the last second.
I have no idea because both of these teams look like they could be playoffs, but neither of them are really playing, I think, particularly well. I really don't know. Like, Carolina should have won this one, if you ask me. But
yeah, I agree.
And I think it hurts a lot. I mean, like I said, we're down the stretch here, DJ. Every win is huge.
Yeah.
And to give up a close loss like this to a team that I don't necessarily think is better, that could be the difference between them making the playoffs or not.
I do want to point out that for the first time in the history of me doing my NFL game picks for Com Radio, I got the score of a game exactly right.
Wow.
I picked the Seahawks to win 30-27.
And that's why we got you on 4th and Long, DJ, because you bring expertise. Love to see it. So we're going to take our second break here. When we come back, we're going to give our official predictions for all the Week 13 games as well as our bold predictions for here on 4th and Long. You are listening to 4th and Long on Com Radio, and we will be right back.
Welcome back to 4th and Long with Jason Marcus and DJ Bauer here on Com Radio.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to 4th and Long on Com Radio. I'm your host, Jason Marcus, alongside me, DJ Bauer, and we are going to give our official predictions for all of the Week 13 action in the NFL, and it starts off this Thursday at 8:20 p.m. for a huge matchup for the NFC playoff implications. It is the number 1 seed New Orleans Saints at the current number 4 seed Dallas Cowboys here. Should be a good one here, DJ. What do you think happens on Thursday?
All right, first, I do want to give some credit to the Cowboys here because they have been hot lately. They've got massive wins now against Washington and against Atlanta in the past couple weeks here. They got a win against Philadelphia. They have looked very good. Credit to Dak Prescott. He's made a very good turnaround here in these past 3 weeks. And it's starting to look like a first-round pick for Amari Cooper was worth it because, man, has he turned on the Jets.
He had a really good game last week, but I don't necessarily think one game translates into the value you need from a first-round pick. I think that's something that we can't really determine whether or not that was a fair trade, I think, at least until the end of the year and see how their playoff hopes work.
Right.
I think this is going to be a really good game, a really fun game here, but I personally feel like the New Orleans Saints are just a far better team and far overpowering. I think for as good as the Cowboys defense is played all year, I don't think they're going to be able to handle that explosive Saints offense. How do you feel?
Yeah, all credit to Dallas, like I've said, but they're playing the Saints.
Yeah, exactly.
They're playing the Saints. Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, the guys that have been lighting up the league for the past 11 weeks, they're going to do it again.
So, moving forward now into our 1 o'clock games on Sunday, starting off with the Chicago Bears at the New York Giants. Giants coming off a big loss to the Philadelphia Eagles at home. Not the season that they had hoped for.
Rip Odell's 9-7 speech.
Yeah, well, they're not going to win 8 straight, unfortunately. But on the other hand, you have a hot Chicago Bears team, arguably the best defense in the NFL.
I don't think it's arguable. I think they are.
I think exactly. I think they probably are the best defense in the NFL. Do the Giants get the upset here?
No, mainly because Chicago's been so dominant, and it seems like any situation that they've been in, they've worked. They didn't have their starting quarterback last week, and they still won. And I don't think that the Giants are particularly a better team than the Lions, so I think Chicago goes into New York and grabs another W. 9-3. I mean, as a first-year head coach, Matt Nagy, that's about as impressive as you can get.
Yeah, I think if you want to talk potential coaches of the year, I think he's got to be up there, certainly. Yeah. So I agree with you. I think Chicago's going to come into this one and steamroll over the Giants. I think this one could be a blowout, DJ. Up next, we have the Arizona Cardinals at the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers playoff hopes are still alive, albeit holding on by a string. Unfortunately, the Arizona Cardinals, their season's all but over, but Cardinals could potentially put the dagger in the playoffs hopes of the Packers this week. What do you see happening?
Here's the thing. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens because the Packers have been stumbling on themselves so many times this year. Wouldn't be surprised to see them do it to a terrible team against Arizona. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback. I mentioned before the show that I don't think he's been the same quarterback he usually is. And part of that is because the coaching has not been there. A lot of his weapons, other than Devontae Adams, have been pretty ineffective. So that's part of it, but he's still a good quarterback. You got to give all the credit you can to Aaron Rodgers. So I am going to go with a win here. They get to 5-6-1. They're still alive in the conversation. I don't think they're going to hang around there for too long, but I do like them to bounce back and get a win against a team that they should be winning against.
I think that's the key word there, DJ, is should. Packers absolutely are the better team here and probably should get the win. However, I'm actually going to take the upset here.
Okay.
I'm going to take the Cardinals to win this one on the road. I think Josh Rosen has a very good game. I think the Green Bay Packers are a mess and disorderly. I think the big conversation after this one is not do the Packers have a shot, but it's do the Packers have to find a new head coach after this week. So
it's very true. And even if they do have a nice turnaround here, and I don't think they're going to get into the playoffs, but even if they have a good turnaround and just fall short, may still be looking for a new HC.
So, officially taking the Cardinals on that one. Up next, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jaguars. One team is on the rise and one team is on the decline. Can the Jaguars turn it around here in this key AFC South matchup?
No. Colts are the better team. It's funny to think about how a year ago, just 1 year ago, the Jacksonville Jaguars were, AFC contenders. They were one game away from getting into the Super Bowl. And this year they're 3-8. That has to be the fastest that a Super Bowl window has ever opened and closed.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, 1 year, all right, see ya. And it's just unbelievable how they've fallen. And the Colts, I talked about it before. They've had a very impressive turnaround. Andrew Luck, all those guys on the offense and defense making plays. So I'm going to go with the Colts. I think they're going to win big. I had them winning by 20.
Okay. Very well could happen. I also am going to take the Colts in this one. They are the far superior team. I don't necessarily think that they will win by 20. I think it might be a little bit closer than that, but I do have the Indianapolis Colts winning this one and further cementing their case for a playoff spot.
Last time these two teams played, I picked the Jaguars, and it bit me in the butt.
So learning from your mistakes, DJ.
Yeah, Colts it is.
That's what Fourth and Long is all about. So up next, we have the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans. I think depending on how Baker Mayfield wakes up for this one, this could be a fun game here.
I do too.
What do you think is going to happen?
I got to give credit to Cleveland here because another fun fact, First time since 2014 that the Browns have had back-to-back wins.
Really?
That's about as exciting as it gets if you're a Cleveland
It's
fan.
been a lot of turnaround for Cleveland this year.
It has been. So, good for the Browns. They're 4-6-1, which, surprisingly isn't that far out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
If they finish strong, they could sneak in there. I think it's unlikely, but, the door is still open if Baker Mayfield continues to play the way he has. My issue here is just who they're playing this week, is that arguably, I say other than the Saints, the Texans are the hottest team in football with 8 straight wins there. I mentioned it before.
Hotter than the Rams?
They started
or the Chiefs?
0-3. I think so. I mentioned it before, that how good the Texans have been lately. They've just impressed me. They had a couple fluky wins there, but now they're really looking like contenders. I like them to get to 9 straight and beat the Browns here at home.
I think this could be a really fun one. I am going to go with the Houston Texans, though. But I think the Browns will put up a decent fight here, and I don't think this is necessarily going to be decided until, the fourth quarter.
I agree. I think it'll be a good game.
Yeah. Up next, Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a must-win for Carolina.
Absolutely.
I think if they can't get the win here, that their season's over. But what do you see happening, DJ? Are the Panthers able to get the key win?
Yes. I think that they will get the win. It's a division rival, and division games are always tricky. You can never really tell who's going to win them. But Buccaneers are not good. We know this.
Yeah.
I don't know how they beat San Francisco last week, but they did.
Because they played San Francisco.
I guess that's fair. Fitzmagic is gone. They've got Winston back as the starter again. He's due to fail again, like they always do with the quarterbacks. I think it is going to be a kind of close game, but I do think that Carolina finally gets on the right track and they say, all right, look, our season is collapsing right before our very eyes. We were 6-2, we're 6-5 now. This is a must-win game. They go out and play it like a must-win game, and I do think that they'll grab a win in Tampa.
Absolutely. They can't afford to overlook this one or take the Bucs for granted. They need to prepare like this is a playoff game because for them it is.
Absolutely.
I do think Carolina's going to find a way to get this one, but if we come on the show next week and the Buccaneers are the winners, I won't be surprised.
It's crazy to think because the Panthers are 6-2. Biggest collapse in NFL history, I think, was a team went 6-0 and missed the playoffs at 8-8.
Was that the Denver Broncos from
Broncos have
2011?
Done that. I think the Redskins have done that too. And the Panthers, they've had that even year curse, where in the odd years they they have a winning record, they go to the playoffs, and in the even years they don't do as well. So will the curse strike again? If you're a Panthers fan, you hope not.
No, certainly not. But officially, I'm taking the Panthers in that one.
Yeah, I agree.
Up next, Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins here. This one's actually pretty tough to call. I don't necessarily think either of these teams are good.
Right.
But somebody's got to win. I guess they could tie, theoretically.
Yeah.
But,
somebody's got to win. This is not college football. There's not need to be a winner.
Yeah, this one's tough for me to call, but believe it or not, I'm actually going to give the win here to the Buffalo Bills.
It's not a surprising call, actually.
I think Josh Allen has played really well for the small sample size we've seen him in.
Mm-hmm. Compared to Nathan Peterman, of course.
Well, compared to Nathan Peterman, I'm good. So I'm going to go with the Bills here just because I don't think the Dolphins' defense is that great. I think they're very much a transitional team. I think LaShawn McCoy is going to have a pretty good day despite his rough season overall.
Mm-hmm.
But he put up good numbers against the Jets a couple weeks ago, and I don't think the Dolphins are better than the Jets. So I think, believe it or not, the Bills' offense is going to get them a good win here.
Yeah, it'd be surprising. They do have 2 straight wins. They are over the Jets and Jaguars, so take that with a grain of salt. But they do still have 2 straight wins. You got to give them credit for that. The Bills have not looked as terrible as they once were. I don't know what happened in that locker room. Maybe exercising a demon by cutting Peterman is all they needed to do, and suddenly they start winning.
Even Matt Barkley played well.
Yeah, it's true. In the one game that he came in, and he had a pretty nice game. So I would not be surprised if the Bills win this game. I'm still going to go with the Dolphins, though, mainly because they're the home team. And it's tough to play in Miami. So I am going to go with the Dolphins in this one, but I would not be surprised if the Bills came away with a road win.
Up next, we have the Denver Broncos at the Cincinnati Bengals. Broncos were my dark horse to make the playoffs. We had both said that the Cincinnati Bengals are all but done this season. Do the Broncos get that win?
I am going to ride the dark horse alongside you and pick the Broncos to win this game. Get to 6-6, which would be very impressive considering they were 3-6 at one point. To go and beat 2 playoff teams likely in the Chargers and the Steelers, and then I think they do go into Cincinnati and grab a road win here over the Bengals. Give them credit. They've looked very impressive lately. And they've got momentum on their side. Bengals have absolutely zero momentum. They were 4-1 at one point. They have, gone 1-5 since then. They haven't won a game since October. Andy Dalton is now out for the rest of the season. They have Jeff Driscoll throwing the ball. Still questionable on A.J. Green whether or not how much he's going to play at this point. If the season continues the way it is, they may just sit him and let him get healthy. And the defense is the worst in the AFC. I mean, they're allowing more points than any other AFC team. So it looked good for the Bengals. It really did, and it all came crashing apart very quickly. And, I know we joke that Marvin Lewis is, going to stay there forever, but if they, finish this collapse the way that they have to consider, kicking him to the curb finally.
I don't know how he's lasted this long. I don't know how anyone is in a job for 15 years without achieving the minimum result, which is a playoff berth. He's made the playoffs. He's never won a game,
not got a playoff win. That's just terrible.
In 15 years. I don't know why he's still there. I hope this is his last year.
When was the last time the Bengals won a playoff game?
1990. That's the longest drought in NFL.
Crazy.
But officially for this game, I am going to take the Denver Broncos to get the road win here. For as much as the Broncos' offense has struggled, their defense is still one of the best.
Yeah.
And I think if you take that up against a poor Bengals O-line and Jeff Driscoll, I don't know how Von Miller and all those guys don't come away with a win here. So I'm taking the Broncos to get their third straight.
Yeah, I agree.
Baltimore Ravens at the Atlanta Falcons. This one is interesting to me because
it is very interesting.
Both of these teams, I feel like the Ravens are not as good as their record says.
Okay.
And I don't think the Falcons are as bad as their record says.
I agree.
I actually think these teams are more even than people think. So
I agree, absolutely.
So I think this one is going to be very close to call. But who are you taking?
Of course, the record is the thing that matters here, though. It's because
right.
Falcons are 4-7. They're pretty much done from the playoffs. Even though I think they're just as good as the Ravens are, the Ravens have that 6-5 record, so they're still in it. This is going to be a tight game, I think. It's in Atlanta, so that gives a nice edge to the Falcons there. I actually do have the Falcons winning 24-20 in my official predictions here. I think it's going to be a close game. Lamar Jackson has looked good, both running the ball and throwing the ball, so credit to him. But I like the Falcons to finally, cut this losing streak of 3 in a row and grab a win, a much-needed win.
This one's tough to call, like I said, but I'm actually going to go with the Baltimore Ravens on this one. I think that the Falcons' defense has been unable to contain playmakers all year. I think Lamar Jackson, with his dual threat ability, is going to be too much for them to handle. I think he's going to have a great game and lead the Baltimore Ravens to a key win here.
Yep.
LA Rams at the Detroit Lions. To me, this one's a no-brainer, but DJ, do the Lions get the upset?
I think they're going to give the Rams a little bit more fight than they're expecting, but I still think that Los Angeles will come out on top in the end. I mentioned that the Lions have not looked very good lately. They haven't won a game in the past month except for that 1-point win over Carolina. And the Rams are coming fresh off of a bye week. They're going to be rested. They're going to be ready to come into this one. So, I do think that Detroit will give them a fight more than the Rams are expecting, but I do think that it will ultimately be a Los Angeles victory.
I agree. Rams are going to come in win this one. It might be closer than I'm thinking, but I don't foresee the Lions. Let's just say this. By the fourth quarter, I think it's game over. I think the Rams are going to win this one and blow it open.
I'll agree with that.
Rams by a large margin here. Kansas City Chiefs at the Oakland Raiders. Again, speaking of a pretty obvious decision, if you ask me, one of these teams is one of the worst teams in football, and one of these teams is the best, but anything can happen in the NFL. DJ, what's your official prediction?
I am calling this one a blowout, but I'm very wary of that because the last time that I picked the Chiefs to blow out a bad team, it didn't happen. They beat the Cardinals by just a couple scores. So I'll put my money on this one and call it a blowout again, but I'm wary of that. I do have the Chiefs winning big. It's never good to go into the bye week, with an awful loss, especially a loss whenever you score 51 points. But they're playing the Raiders. The Raiders couldn't do a thing offensively against Baltimore. They got harassed all day long. Chiefs are going to do the same thing. I got the Chiefs winning big here. I don't think that loss is going to hang over the Kansas City too bad, and they're going to go into Oakland and pick up another victory.
Yeah, coming off a bye, coming off that big loss to L.A. after even putting up 50 points. Fun fact, DJ, did you know that the Kansas City Chiefs are the first team in NFL history to score 50 points or more in a loss?
Fun fact, did you know I tweeted that and you liked it?
All right. Moving on.
That'll end that right there.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. But no, I think the Chiefs are going to come in here and get a big win here. It's not even going to be close. It's going to factor into my bold prediction later.
Okay.
But
Excited
nonetheless,
to see it.
yeah, right. Nonetheless, Chiefs are going to win this one. New York Jets at the Tennessee Titans. Who's going to watch this game? Neither of these teams want to win. I have no idea what's going to happen. But, DJ, what happens?
All right. I've already mentioned how weird the Titans are. They seem to lose games that they're supposed to win and win games they're supposed to lose. But I think they get their head straight for this one. One guy that I feel really bad for is Mariota, because he hasn't had the greatest NFL career, but he had a heck of a game last week. I know that Phillip Rivers set the record for completion percentage in a game last week, and then a day later, Mariota comes very close to breaking that margin just one day later. The thing is that Chargers won that game against the Cardinals 45-10. Titans lost by 17, so Mariota's getting no help. I feel bad for the guy. But here's the bright spot here for Tennessee fans. They're still in it at 5-6. Like we said, the 6th spot right now is held by the Ravens at 6-5, so anything can happen. And 5 of their last 5 games, 4 of them are at home, including this one here against the Jets. So I do like the Titans to pick up a victory here and keep themselves in the conversation.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Titans on this one here. I think they're just a more talented roster. Again, Mariota played well on Monday Night Football against the Texans, so he's not the issue here. I think he's still going to have a good game against New York, and the Titans are going to get a win.
Yep, I agree.
4:25 p.m. on Sunday, Minnesota Vikings at the New England Patriots. 2 good teams, certainly both in contention for playoff spots here. What happens in this one, DJ?
This is a fun game I like. I think a lot of people are going to write off the Vikings and call this an easy win for the Patriots. I say not so fast. I know that the Vikings are probably not going to win the NFC North at this point, but they realize how competitive this wild card race is, and so I think they're going to kick it into second gear and pull off an upset in Foxborough. One of the things I'd like to point out here is that the Patriots actually have something to play for in this game. I know that the division is wrapped up like it always is, but the Patriots are on a streak of 8 straight years where they have gotten a first-round bye. If they lose this game, suddenly that's in danger.
Yeah, I don't see Kirk Cousins going into Foxborough and getting a win.
Okay.
Very few quarterbacks throughout NFL history have been able to do that. I don't think Kirk's talented enough to do it, to be quite honest with you.
Hey, Mark Sanchez has done it.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't like Kirk in this one.
Okay, that's fair.
I think the Patriots are going to win this one. It'll still be a close, fun game. But
it's my one upset pick of the week.
Okay, right? Yeah, and if we come on next show and they win, you get all the credit. But
there you go.
I'm taking Tom Brady. I've learned throughout the years it's more better to
not
bet against him.
Usually it's a good decision to take Tom Brady.
So I'm taking the Patriots in that one. Up next, we have the San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks were your pick to make the playoffs here, so do they get the win?
Yep. Yes, they do. It's a home game. It's against a division rival that traditionally the Seahawks have played very well against here in these past couple years. 49ers are kind of a mess right now. Quarterback situation is terrible. They don't have many offensive weapons. Breida's banged up. The line is still a little bit iffy. And the defense, of course, Reuben Foster out now. That's a huge loss. So, yeah, I don't like the Niners going into this game. I think that the Seahawks come away with a win. They realize that the playoffs are close, and so Hawks all the way.
I'm also going Seattle here, too. Shouldn't necessarily be that close of a game. It's not going to be very high scoring. I think this could end up something like 24-3.
Okay.
But I am going Seattle. Sunday Night Football this week.
Maybe game of the week, right?
Sunday night?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Niners Seahawks. And I was like,
no. No, sir.
No,
in
Sunday
fact,
night.
They flexed that was the Sunday night game, and they flexed it out of primetime for this one.
Okay, yeah. No, Sunday Night Football absolutely is probably the game of the week. LA Chargers at the Pittsburgh Steelers. 2 of the best teams in football. Steelers are in the playoffs. They're winning the AFC North. Chargers are in the 5th seed at the wild card. So both currently playoff teams. DJ, what happens in Pittsburgh on Sunday?
I want to start off by saying that I want to put some respect on the name of Phillip Rivers right here. If not for some guys named Patrick Mahomes or Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers would be the MVP right now. He is playing out of his mind. I think this is the best year of his career, to be honest. And he's leading a team that, last year they started 0-4. If they didn't have that terrible start, which a lot of it was because their kicker just couldn't hit anything.
Right.
They would have been in the playoffs last year. And this year they're making up for their mistakes. They're turning it around. They're 8-3. They just came off a monster win over Arizona where Phillip Rivers set the single-game passing yardage record. I really like this Chargers team. But they're playing the Steelers. I can't pick against the Steelers. It's my team, man. I know that they lost to Denver last week, but that's what the Steelers do. They play down to bad opponents, and then they play up to good opponents. It's a Pittsburgh tradition, really. As much as pierogies are or saying yins is, it's the Steelers playing down to bad teams and playing up to good teams. So, it's going to be a great game. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring involved. But I do have the Pittsburgh Steelers winning this. They have yet to lose 2 in a row this year. So,
interesting.
I think they're going to continue that streak.
I don't have as much faith in the Pittsburgh Steelers as you do. I definitely see the talent on the roster. I personally think Ben is having not a good year. He's thrown a lot of picks. I think that they're in disarray.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of issues with that team that go deep. I'm taking the LA Chargers in this one. I think they're too explosive. I think their defense is better. It'll be a fun one. It'll be close. Pittsburgh absolutely has the potential to win this game, no question. However, I think the Chargers are better, and I think the Chargers are going to get the win.
Here's the thought. Do you think these teams will meet again in the playoffs?
Very likely. I mean, especially if...
Chargers end up 5, Steelers end up 4?
Yeah. That requires... Especially because if the Steelers lose here and the Texans win, then that puts the Texans in the position to lock up that 3rd seed, right? So, very likely that we see this... in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, but for the regular season this week, I'm taking the Chargers to win on Sunday Night Football.
Okay.
And then our last game before we make our bold predictions for the week, it is Monday Night Football in a key NFC East divisional matchup. It is the 2nd place Washington Redskins at the 3rd place Philadelphia Eagles. Washington Redskins no longer with Alex Smith. It'll be quarterback Colt McCoy coming into Philadelphia. Eagles coming off a win against the NFC East division rival New York Giants. A lot of problems with Philadelphia all year, but it seems as if somehow they have the possibility to turn it around. DJ, what happens on Monday night?
I'll start out by saying I think this game is a toss-up. I really, honestly can see both teams winning this game. I don't think this is a sure thing at all. In fact, if there is any game that I am not sure of happening this week, it's this one. I really don't know who's going to win. I'm going to pick the Redskins just because Colt McCoy, I think, is better than advertised. Last week he got off to a slow start against Dallas, but then he picked up the pace a little bit, and he looked like maybe he can be a serviceable starter for the rest of the year. I do think that the Eagles are still in a bit of a disarray here. I mean, getting shellacked by the Saints one week and then having to come back from down, were they down 19 against the Giants?
They were down 19-3, so they were down 16.
They were down 16, so they had to come back, which give credit to them for that. That's impressive. I'm still not on their side. I don't think that this team is impressive as they were a year ago.
No, I don't think anyone's arguing that.
Right, so this is a close game. And honestly, either team can win this. And that's the thing that's super exciting about this is, whoever wins this game is in suddenly a much better position to, win this NFC East division, which is so tight, especially because I think Dallas is going to lose to the Saints. So major implications on this one. I'm going Skins, but I'm not positive on that one.
This is a playoff game to me. I think this is a must-win for both sides. Personally, I don't think either of these teams, if one of them does make it into the playoffs, neither of them are going to go pretty deep.
Yeah.
But if I had to guess, I'm actually going to go with the Eagles on this one. I think, listen, Ike Reese, former Eagles linebacker, said this past week. If you can't beat Colt McCoy at home, you don't deserve to go to the playoffs.
That's fair.
And I completely agree with him. So this is make or break for the Eagles. And I'll be positive and say momentum carries over. They're starting to get a little bit healthier.
You got to pick your team.
Not much, but I'm going with the Eagles on Monday night. They seem to play well in prime time. So that is it for our Week 13 predictions. But before we sign off for this week, it is 4th and long, which means we have to do our bold predictions because on 4th and long, me and DJ just go for it. So, DJ, give me your bold prediction for Week 13.
All right, I'm going to go to the fantasy football here.
Okay.
My fantasy team is terrible.
Yeah, I know.
I complained about it in the group chat.
It's all right. I'm in 8th. Don't worry about it.
I'm 5-7. I am out of the playoffs officially. Going to the consolation ladder. I can still win that. But yeah, one of the few stars on my team has been Christian McCaffrey. Love that man. Put up 50 points last week against Seattle. Here's a bold prediction. He does it again. 50 points against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If that happens, I'd have to imagine that would be the first time in history that a player has put up 50 points in back-to-back weeks. So I'm picking my man, CMC, to put 50 fantasy points up against the Buccaneers.
My bold prediction for this week comes from the Kansas City-Oakland game, and I think that in this game, Pat Mahomes throws for more yards and more touchdowns than he has all season. I think this is his best game statistically. So he threw 6 against LA. I think he throws 7 here and over 500 yards. And this one's going to get ugly. So that's my bold prediction for this week. So.
All right. Putting up a lot of numbers here on 4th and Long.
Heck yeah.
This week.
All about those numbers, baby. So thank you guys so much for listening to 4th and Long. We will be back next week.
The final show of the semester.
Not going to do one over finals week?
I'm not going to be here.
All right. Well, it'll be our last show for 4th and Long of the semester next week. So make sure you tune in Wednesday at 6 p.m. Take care, everybody, and bye-bye.